Hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. Happy midday, sure it is somewhere on the planet. This is Platos Cave with Dave. Hey, that rhymes. On Revolution Radio. It's just the home to fresh ideas. I'm not going to lie. It is so good that all you have to do to support the station is buy some merchandise. Do that. You can get that from revolution.radio. That's the website name. And if you like anything we say, go ahead and donate to the station. Donate to us. We don't get any money from anybody for doing this. And this is 14 whole years we've been doing this with the station. For free. Free. F-R-E-E. F-R-E. If you're Dean Martin. Join us in the chat room. I'm there. I don't know where you are. But you know what? You can talk to us while we're on air, which is fantastic. This is digital radio as well as broadcast radio. So you can tune into us online on your smart device directly via an app or listen at home on a Gray's Tabletop Digital Radio. That's what you can do. You can access the station's archives. And guess what? That doesn't cost you anything. It's free. It's F-R-E-E. F-R-E. Free. You can do that. And you can catch our shows, anyone's shows, all the host shows. You can download them. They're in MP3 format, so it's very easy to consume, especially when you're not online. You can put them on your smart device. You can do that. Have fun. Get on with it. Do it. Go ahead. Do it. Pardon me, I've got a kind of weird cough going on. All week I've been going in. This is my 5th day at my new job and I'm loving it. It's fantastic. Happy days. Happy to be doing it again. Thank you very much for my new employer. And I think Mecky is joining. Hurrah! I bet there's a story about Discord. So I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country and Mecky is presumably out of Daruk countries and a country we both respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. Mecky, how about you?
Yes, I also acknowledge.
Your audio is so low now, I don't know what to do with you.
Sorry?
Your audio is so low, I can't even hear you.
You're kidding. How about this?
No. No.
Worse? How about this?
No, and I've even got you at 200%. Keep going.
Sorry?
Keep turning it.
How about this way?
No. It makes for great air, everybody. But, you know. No, it's even worse. And I've even got your volume at 200%. And I still can't hear a word you're saying. I can see that you're talking.
Okay, I'm now at the maximum of my input volume. How's this?
So, while Mecky does that, and I'll give him a thumbs up because he can see me on air. And I'll give him a thumbs up when I can hear him at the correct amount of volume. Nope.
Hello, hello, hello?
I can hear you, but you're this big.
Wow, this is insane. How is this possible? It doesn't make any sense.
So, anywho, I wanted to just start. I know Mecky can do that. I wanted to read a story out because I'm not sure that Mecky is maybe not across this, but I'll give him some time to do it. Our Prime Minister has been quite low for the last several shows, says Fleddy. Your volume's
Hello?
been low. Yeah. I can see that it's a little low, but today's I can't really even hear him, and I've got my volume turned all the way up, so it's a shame. But you know, Mackie will get there.
Hello? How's this? Better?
It's barely registering.
That's crazy. That's just not right.
Yeah, you're about 1/3 of the volume.
How about now? Is this better?
Yeah,
this is the max I can turn it up.
Okay, so just turn it down a little.
How's this?
And just a little more.
Like that?
Okay.
Like that? How's
keep
this?
Keep going.
You got me now?
That's better because I don't want you going in the red and square waving.
How's this? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Let's do it.
It's the CIA interfering with my audio settings. Okay, get away, CIA, or KGF, or PBQ, or SPQR. Crazy stuff.
I'm not sure what you're saying. It sounds like you're talking English. So our Prime Minister, Mackie, our Prime Minister has said, I'm not going to touch any new taxes. Yeah, no new taxes, he says. But the WA Teals are saying that they're backing a GST increase. And they also, at the same time, but they also support the negative gearing cuts.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
None of this is going to happen.
No,
it's irrelevant what the Greens wanted. The Greens wanted. Okay, great, I get it. Mm-hmm. Also, they said the change they want. The negative gearing should only apply to one investment property, right?
Yeah,
that's what they said. And it's really okay. Let's take a step back here. Why will it not happen? Because the vast majority of parliamentarians, both Labour and Liberal, have several investment properties. Okay, to be clear, if the cabinet was if the cabinet consisted entirely of Teal and Greens, okay, I dig it. Thanks, guys. Thanks in the chat. Yeah, I'm back. I don't know. It was the CIA. I'm telling you, maybe the KGB. One of them. They came into my room and they played around the microphone rather than cut my brake line.
The
window is always open.
The window's open. The floor's
always
slippery.
It's open, brother. The window is open. It's just it's very slippery.
Typical KGB.
No, but listen. This KGB, it's not going to get through. And it will also, if it were put on the agenda, right, Labour would lose the next election.
That's totally 100%. Yeah.
It's that simple. Because a lot of people, like myself, have a couple of investment properties. Not a string, I'm afraid, not quite. But it's a normal thing in Australia because negative gearing has always been a thing for us here. And it makes it easier to allow. Now, in my defense, I build what I then rent out. I don't buy existing stock. I add to the market, right? So I build the properties, and then I rent them out. And in my opinion, that is ethically and morally defensible, as well as economically. Because if you just speculate on existing stock, flats, houses, whatever, you're actually part of the problem. If you add, okay. I agree, Flatty, better to cut my mic gain than my brake line. If you add to the market, you're actually helping the housing crisis. If you're just speculating with existing stock, you're making it worse. Okay, that's the way it actually works. So it won't happen. He's not going to touch it. And even if they did change it, all the properties that are held as investments now would be grandfathered. What that means is the law wouldn't touch them. This is only for new people coming into the market and investing.
Right. That's right.
So, to be clear, it would have exactly no impact on the housing market.
Zero impact.
Zero.
That's great. I'm risk averse, Mackie, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And the thing is this: of course, the Greens and the Teals, especially the Greens, I know where they're coming from, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. The problem that we have in Australia, not uniquely, but because it is such a disproportionate issue. So let me give you an example. I came to Australia with my family. My father came here in 1988, right? That's when we came here. And the houses in Sydney, in the West, where we lived or where we moved to, were about $100,000. That's a 4-bedroom, nice, like single-family home with a bit of garden, right? Nothing fancy, but it's a good, solid house, yeah? Full brick. $100,000. The same house, today, 37 years later, today, will cost you $1.8 million. Now, let's say $100,000 was a fairly good salary back in 1988, which it was, right? Because now I can tell you that a person that was earning $100,000 then, in whatever job that was, is not earning $1.8 million today.
That's true.
Not happening. So the housing prices, and this had a knock-on effect, of course, on flats, apartments, etc. It was just phenomenal. It was just the way it grew. It is still growing.
Yeah, that's right.
It is still it is. I mean, I have no idea where it will end. Right? I mean, my kids will have a really hard time buying property if they wanted to live in Sydney, right? Dave, I can only imagine that your kids would have similar issues.
Yeah, totally. And I have an equation for investment properties, or the property purchasing in the Sydney Basin, and that is doubling every decade. So the price of the property was doubling every single decade in the last 40 years. On average. There was a couple of years where it was stagnant and a couple of years where it went up a little higher, but that was what the investment ladder was teaching us back in the 80s.
Yeah. And there are people who've made it a living or who've made a career out of advising people on how to buy property, helping them to buy property, becoming mortgage brokers, etc., etc. Because so they actually there's an entire cottage industry of employment around this thing, right? And all I got was a T-shirt. No, I'm kidding. But look, Dave, it won't happen. And in fact, Albanese has already poured cold water on it.
That's right.
Wish that's gonna happen. We're not going to do that, But hey, good thinking. Keep it coming. Keep the ideas coming. I love it.
It's funny that this story that I've got on the screen. Well, I had on the screen. I put it back on the screen. This news report was 6 p.m. this evening, so 3 hours ago, and I know that when they ran the story, it was already denounced, pretty much. Like, we're not touching it. So they ran the story with knowing that it was incorrect.
Yeah, look, man.
It's Plato's Cave, Mickey. You know we have to do that.
Okay. No, we have to. This is what we do. We shine a light. We are the guy. It might have been, if it was written today, it might have been a girl. Yeah. That got out of the cave, looked around, smelled the air, listened to the birds, and admired the butterflies, and went back down to tell all the other troglodytes that they should come out, and then we would be beaten to death for our troubles.
That's right.
There are two stories I really need to talk about today.
All right,
because they bother me, Dave. Mm-hmm. They really bother me. It won't take very long, I don't think.
Are they connected in some way?
Kinda. They're kinda connected.
All right.
So the first one is this. There was meant to be a dinner with Vance and whatever, and Patel, and they're going to talk about how they're going to handle this whole Epstein thing with, because it got away from them and it was handled poorly, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
But it was a secret dinner with nobody allowed inside.
Oh.
And it somehow leaked. It was reported on, and now JD Vance said, "Oh no, there's no dinner. There was never going to be a dinner," and so the dinner is now off. And I guess I don't know. They're just going to bumble around blindly. And connected to that is and this is not the second story. The second story is something separate.
Because I'm picturing the Keystone Cops, Mickey.
That's it. The Ghislaine Maxwell
classic
transferred to a low
And even lower.
Security, country club.
All right, country club. Yeah.
Well, the thing is this. There are two things that never happen.
Mm-hmm.
Two things that never happen. One, the person that took her deposition, interviewed her for the 9 or whatever, 10 hours that she was being interviewed, was a very high-ranking member.
The Department of Justice, yeah.
Correct. So that never happens. That person or that position has never done this and would normally never do this, except this guy. He was actually the personal attorney to Trump prior. So he went in and had the conversation with Ghislaine Maxwell, and now there's a leak that says, Trump has never done anything untoward. She seems to have said, right, or something bad or whatever. Now and then she's moved to a minimum security prison, country club, really, which is another thing that never happened. That actually never happens. She's not eligible for that. Okay, so to be very clear, it stinks to high heaven, and you can't believe anything that she has said. And this is not the second story, but connected to that is the firing of the chief of the Bureau of Statistics, or Labor Statistics, whatever it's called. Bureau for Labor, BLS, right? Bureau for Labor Statistics. Anyway,
sure, why not?
So, and I listened to the guy who was the previous chief of that department under Trump, and he says it is impossible for that person to change the numbers because the numbers are collated by people under her, and and whatever, and then all they do is they edit it and present it to the president. So the thing is this: whoever's going to be, and this is the same problem with Ghislaine Maxwell now, right? So whoever's going to be employed as the next chief of that bureau, the thing is this: if the numbers are good, you're thinking, well, clearly they can't be that good. We can't believe it, because if they were bad, right, then that person would get fired as well. So they will give better numbers than are in reality there. And if the numbers are bad, again, then they will say, oh, the numbers must be worse than that, because there's no way that they would have given Trump, the bad numbers that they gave them, unless they're actually much, much worse. So the problem here is believability and trust. You can't believe anything Ghislaine Maxwell says, number one, because she got something, and we know she lies, right? And second, if you fire someone that gives you a message that you don't like, right, without verifying the numbers, without going back and saying, hey, can you just look over the numbers? Because these were adjustments, and adjustments happen all the time. It's just how statistics work, right?
That should be unfair dismissal.
Well, that doesn't really work in America like that.
I know.
In America, you can just fire people. There's
right.
no unfair dismissal.
No, that's right.
So, but the problem now is that you can no longer trust the information that is either provided by Ghislaine Maxwell or by the Bureau of Statistics, and by extension, and I know the MAGA base doesn't really. Oh yeah, no. Well, forget the media. No, but Kash Patel, and Dan Bongiorno, Pam Bondi. No, those guys specifically, they can no longer be believed.
But it's just an ever-growing sized bubble of people we can't trust anymore.
No, but then, yeah, and this is really the kicker here. These people, flip-flopped 80 degrees. 180 degrees. I should say. 180 degrees, and you can tell that they are very strange. The mannerisms, their facial expression, etc. They're sweating bullets. It doesn't seem like they're telling the truth, in my opinion.
All
right?
out of character to what we saw in the lead-up. I know.
Completely. Yeah. So the problem is now that believability is out the window completely, right? Because not only have they gone 180, and because you could go 180 if there was evidence that Jeffrey Epstein had committed suicide and there was nobody else involved but him, and if the evidence was there, then you could just go, well, here it is. There's the evidence, the video, the photo, the transcripts, whatever. Except that didn't happen, and they also flip-flopped on what the information is. There's a list. There's no list. We got to release something.
We don't have it anymore, and then suddenly here's the video.
Here's the video, but it's not the video because there's 3 minutes missing, and now we're seeing someone that's sort of sneaking up in there. This is insanity. This is a comedy of errors, right? This is This is what you would expect in a Mel Brooks comedy of corruption, right? Except it's reality for America, and again, it matters because America is still a very important country in the world. So that's why we're spending so much time on it. So there's this whole issue with trust and believability. The second thing I wanted to, second story, and I told you it wouldn't take too long.
Yeah.
That was only 7 minutes. The second thing I wanted to highlight here, I listened to an interview with the gentleman who put together the Steele dossier. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, around the Russian interference, etc. And he says he was an MI5 or MI6 operator, right? So he's British, not American. He said that the Russians have, in fact, a compromat or compromising material obtained from Epstein about Trump. And they had it even back in 2016. That's why they wanted Trump to get elected. And this gentleman, Steele, his name is Steele, did warn that you're getting a compromised player into the White House. Now, it's worse the second time around because he's doing everything that is not good for America. And let me explain, okay? Donald Trump goes America first, make America great again. I got no issue with that. Perfect, great. That's awesome, right? I mean, it's maybe the wrong way to go about it, tariffs and all that, but okay, that's your policy. But everything you do, right, if it is connected to Israel or Russia, is not the best path for America. It is not. By a country mile, it is not. Okay? And nonetheless, we keep going down that path with Donald Trump where he supports Israel almost blindly, saying a few harsh words here and there, but so what? Sticks and stones, who cares? And then with Russia, it's the same. Ultimatum here, and now you got 10 days, and then I'll do something bad. And not only that, Russia was never hit with any tariffs. Donald Trump hasn't done a single thing that was in the disinterest of Russia, that would have hurt Russia in even the slightest way. Nothing. Zero. Or I should say Putin, probably, because Russia is hurting from this whole conflict because they've lost 1 million people, right? That's significant. But Putin has not been hurt at all. At all. So I have no doubt in my mind, okay? No doubt in my mind that Donald Trump is compromised by Russia and by Israel. I don't think these are the only two players that have the information on him, right? And I don't think that the information that exists in America today may be held by the CIA or the FBI or whoever, in any way near as damaging as the information that as Russia and Israel have. They have the real information. I don't think that whatever the Americans are holding is in any way, terribly. I mean, he might be listed in the files as a friend, and he might have flown on the plane, right? Big deal. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out with him and younger women and the things he said. And look, he's a misogynist. He's a predator. But people knew this. It's not a secret. We know what Donald Trump is like. It's not like, oh my God, I thought he was a choir boy. No. I have no doubt whatsoever that he will never ever act against Russia or Israel. And I want to be very specific. Never act against Putin or Netanyahu. Not only that, Dave, he has now slapped tariffs onto Brazil. Why? To help his friend Bolsonaro. To make sure that Brazil, or to influence the Brazilians in such a way as to not prosecute him. This is unheard of. This is completely unheard of. And then he slaps tariffs on India for no good reason. Because Turkey buys just as much, well, maybe not as much, but buys Russian oil just as much as India. There's a few others that buy Russian oil, but Turkey wasn't really hit, right? So this is insanity. This is completely out of hand, out of control. This is going to spiral out into, I don't even know, civil war. I don't think so, because the situation is so insane. Imagine, I mean, just for a second, humor me. Imagine in your mind that Donald Trump is truly compromised, right? By Putin and by Netanyahu. They have stuff on him, right? Let's say that. Now, Donald Trump only does what's good for Donald Trump. Nobody will argue with that. Donald Trump will not do what's good for America if it is not also good for Donald Trump. Okay? That's a fact. You look at the big, beautiful bill, millions of people off Medicaid, right? Gone. Tax breaks for the super rich. That's great. Hurrah. Trillions of dollars added to the deficit. That's yay. America downgraded by Moody's. Okay. End of the petrodollar. This is shocking, Dave. But I want to say here again, Donald Trump is compromised, because the thing is this: there's very few instances where I've been wrong. Remember the thing I said, what Netanyahu wants to do as soon as Gaza was invaded, right? We want to take Gaza, is what I said. Israel will take Gaza, get rid of all the Palestinians. I said it 2 years ago now, and guess what? That's exactly what's happening. Okay, I was right about COVID. Yeah, 2019, 2020. That was the year when our population numbers reached critical mass, according to the Fibonacci sequence. I know it sounds crazy. Listen to the hypothesis. This is the same. I'm not wrong. Donald Trump is compromised. And Netanyahu and Putin are playing him like a fiddle to their end. To their end. He will do nothing that will in any way compromise Netanyahu or Putin. I'm saying it here now, and these are the two things I wanted to mention, Dave, because they really bothered me. And the more I see it, Dave, the more I'm thinking, good Lord, are we really here? Is this where we are? Forget idiocracy. Forget that. This is a completely different kettle of fish, right? But this is a president who has his own self-interest at heart first. He has made billions in his private businesses, and his son's flying around in Dubai and selling crypto and making hotel deals and all kinds of things. You know, taking a jet, you know, which will cost $1 billion, by the way, to harden to U.S. security standards. That's $1 billion of tax money, which he will then keep. The U.S. Trump or the Trump Library will keep that jet. Okay, and he had a dinner where all these people for $1 million a plate could come and lobby him, and I do invoke the Fibonacci sequence rule. That's right, you know it. And I have no words. In fact, even a tin pot dictator like I don't know, Marcos in the Philippines, right? Wouldn't have been. Yeah, they wouldn't have been as blatant as that. But Trump, I mean, the rules, the normal rules in American politics are out the window, right? When you've got billionaires in the cabinet and podcasters that are pushing, you know, conspiracy angles, which is what I like, so I'm with them, all good, and also Fox News anchors. You know, it's like what do you expect? You will get exactly. You will get exactly what you're getting here today. In Australia, Dave, you know what? We're lucky to have Albanese, because at least he's not part of the Muppet Show. That's one thing I'll give him. Anyway, those are the two things I wanted to mention because they really bothered me.
Our Muppet Show, Meki, is just like we bought it on Temu. I'm going to tell you, it's
that's right.
It's the cheap version. That's
right.
That's all I can say. Fleddy has been talking to us while you've been going
Good
through
stuff.
that, and managed to climb. They hope. Meki invokes the Fibonacci sequence rule too, which is fantastic. And I'm suspecting Fleddy is someone I know, because most of this is what we talk about. So I wanted to say, when you were talking about Ghislaine Maxwell and the senior person from the DOJ, not the work experience kid, not someone who's an intern, not someone in their first year. We're talking someone who's lived and breathed the Department of Justice all their life, and has gone down there with, I think, and it's only my thoughts, with an opportunity for Ghislaine Maxwell to have a new story, a new story where Mickey, you know this scene from The Simpsons. Mr. Simpson, when I stamp on your foot and I say, "Hello, Mr. Sampson," you say hello. And he stamps on his foot and he goes, "I think he's talking to you." Because that's what I think happened. This person, the senior person, with a goal, with an agenda, has gone down and said, "Well, I'm going to do an interview with you." Fantastic. So what question are you going to ask? Well, are you going to play along with the game? Because we're going to ship you off to a resort. How does that sound? If you play the game and no one else was involved, only Epstein, and you're going to be sweet, right? Sure. I can only imagine it goes, "Sure, I'm going to do that. Not a problem. I'm just going to, whatever you want me to say, I'll say it." Well, I can't tell you what to say, but if you play along, then, hey, you're going to be playing golf on, at this new resort. So, there's a pool,
That's right.
all of those things. So, yeah, there's the truth, and then there's the truth. That's also a Simpsons gag. And I think that's what happened, because Fleddy put a great picture there in the chat room with Bongino and what's his name?
Cash Patel.
Cash Patel.
Yeah.
Both of them. I mean, Bongino, like I said, his podcast, his whole angle was all of the conspiracies, everything, blah, blah, blah. It's all, and he made money, and his channel made money. He made money. His team were paid on the stance that all of this stuff was true. And then he gets in here, and the face he pulls tells me that I'm not allowed to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, we're coming after your family. You say anything else? You know what? Everybody you've ever spoken to will no longer exist. There was this TV show in the late 90s called Nowhere Man. And this Nowhere Man was a photojournalist, and he took some pictures of some execution in the South American jungle, whatever. He came back, and it was part of his photo exhibit. The next day, his life had been erased. So he went back to his house. His wife didn't recognize him. Well, she did, but it's a long story behind it, right? But essentially, he was now a non-person. His entire life had been erased. Even his wife, like I said, that clearly loved him, whatever, denied knowing him, and his friends, family, and the only person that did still, I think, know him was then killed tragically by falling out a window or being run over by a car. I can't remember.
Classic. Both of those are classic CIA. Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah. But that's the point here is that can happen to you. That can happen to you. It's and I understand people that, in order to be brave, you have to, a lot of people are they're personally brave. They don't mind if something happens to them, right? They don't mind. They can handle it, or they take the consequences and they go, okay, I'm doing this, I'm exposing this, I'm moving forward, and if something happens to me, then so be it. But the problem, of course, is that unless you're completely alone in the world, right? No family, no friends, then there's leverage against you, right? That's why Anonymous is anonymous. Right? That's what a shock. And that's why a lot of people that are posting are anonymous whistleblowers for the most part, right? Because it would come back to them. And this is what I guess you and I do as well to some extent. Maybe not enough yet to warrant any interference. Though in your case, I'm not sure because we know what happened. But certainly, it is sobering to think that people will not stop at eliminating someone. You just look at the free energy researchers. That's a topic where I thought this is a bit dicey to do, but we did it. Then you've got human trafficking, and I won't go into that. I'll be honest with you, because that is just that's too much for me even to talk about. I know about it, I know what's there, but I really don't want to put it out into the world. So there are topics where you go, oh, maybe not, right? But in order to really go forward and change the world, you must be completely unencumbered, right? And neither Patel nor Bongino are.
Yeah. So Patel, I think, shocked everybody on Joe Rogan's show.
Oh, and Joe Rogan is pissed off with him. Yeah.
I know, totally, because suddenly there's this big 180 degrees. There's nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. I've seen the files and there's nothing in it. And
but
that's the new file, and they just put an empty manila folder on his desk and just said Epstein on the front. Someone's written it in crayon. and he's going, yeah, I've got that on my desk. Yeah. Oh, Jet, there's nothing in it. Okay, great. So if there's nothing, show us what nothing means.
Yeah.
Release all the documents, unredacted, if there's nothing to it. But they can't. The Epstein list, the client list, is a made-up list name for a list that never existed. I and everybody else is sure that all of this was going on, all of it was real, it's all now being covered up. Now, we can say this openly, because remember the people who sat in a courtroom, had experts talking about the magic bullet theory with JFK, and that's what they agreed upon? A magic bullet? Magic! So is magic real? No. That's an illusion. So the illusion of a single bullet, they're replaceable words, interchangeable. And we ate that up for like 40, 50 years? How is that even a thing? Why wouldn't the judge go, I need to get rid of everybody out of this court, let's go again, because this is ridiculous. We can't have that. Of course, the judge would have been bought. All of the people providing evidence would have been either plausible deniability or ignoramuses trying to defend something that didn't make sense. They're using their Chewbacca defense, if you like the South Park episode where they do that with OJ. It doesn't make sense. So because for so long we believed in a system that was meant to be fair and true, is back then, one example is possibly 9/11. Another example, Bay of Tonkin, you name them. Pearl Harbor, Mekki, the storming of the radio station, starting World War II. Is this another example? All of these in the same circle in my Venn diagram of examples where there is a cover-up or a misrepresentation of the truth. Well, the truth, who needs the truth? We've got the lie. You see, the lie is better. Is this COVID? Is this the mRNA vaccines? Is this truth wrapped up in we want to do something else? Is that what it is? Because this is what confuses me. Why aren't we asking questions? Why is this? Why is there no, protests in the street? We're so compliant now. I think we're compliant beyond the expectation of, say, the New World Order governments, the elites, or the people, the shadow people, whoever they are, the deep state. I think we're so now indoctrinated into just going along with whatever they say, as long as there's a distraction, that we've abandoned our ability to protest.
Well, I think we have forgotten to some extent that we can, and the younger generation is just not interested. I think the iPhone came on the market 2007. Is that about right?
Since then, there's been a steep decline.
Yeah, but that's true. That's exactly right. Now, it wasn't the advent of the internet. The internet actually was the opposite. Had the opposite effect. It was more conversation, more conspiracies, etc., etc.
That's right.
You had these individual devices which are pretty much isolating you to just you, really. The whole social aspect changed. Everything changed. And the funny thing is this is the funny thing. These devices, be it Apple or Samsung, doesn't really matter, Huawei, they're all pervasive. And what I mean by that is you will find them in India. You will find them in Africa. You will find them in the poorest places in the world. It might not be that everybody has one, but there will be someone there that where you can timeshare it or whatever. Because it is cheaper to run those devices than put in copper lines.
That's right.
For landlines. Landlines are dead. Forget it, right? In fact, many parts of the world, they dig up the copper and sell it. It's very enterprising.
Even against the regulations of the country.
Yeah, that's right. So, and there's a device for every price range too. There are cheap devices and very expensive devices, etc. But the point is, these devices are now in almost everybody's hand, right? And it's ingenious because that brought with it the biggest social shift and the biggest mental shift, or I guess neural rewiring that we have ever seen in the human race, ever. Because my psilocybin notwithstanding, of course, but because once you have the device, and I see it with my kids too when they're allowed to use it, they fall into it. They fall into the device. It sucks them in. There's this great cartoon where people are, playing with their devices, and their face is actually literally sucked into it in the drawing, right? It's actually sucked. And that's where we are, the zombies, the phone zombies. And nothing else has enabled social engineering as much as that. Not only that, what it enabled it now, you could get information tailored to you. And that's the difference, Dave. Media has been on the way out for a long time, and we couldn't trust the news, but at least there was news, and it was a common set of news that we all got. And some of the news organizations were trustworthy. They were. And there still are some that are trustworthy. But the point here is that right now, those older or ancient even media outlets, like CNN and BBC, whoever, they're sort of like email, like dinosaur stuff. Everybody now gets their information tailored to what they believe or what the algorithm thinks they believe, or even what the algorithm curated, or even what the algorithm thinks
showing you
what they should believe. Yeah, in fact, right now we think it is adjusting itself to what you like, right? But I want to go a step further and say it's nudging. Exactly.
Yeah, look at the video.
It's nudging you.
See,
and then it's an echo chamber, and then you get repeated confirmation bias. That's and all of a sudden, and this is the answer to your question. All of a sudden, we have a population, right, that is no longer capable of critical thinking because everything they get on the device is confirming whatever they believe or whatever they have been taught to believe, right? And of course, not everybody's being taught the same. Otherwise, you don't have conflict. And one thing that you do need is conflict, divide and conquer, right? So that's where we are. That's why we don't see a greater reaction. I mean, all the things that have been happening in the States, there should be, the biggest thing for me, where I would have expected a fairly significant outcry, was when Donald Trump pardoned all of the January 6th people, right? Now, pardoning some, I'm sure that would have been okay. People that were caught on the fringes, and for maybe first offense, so pardon those people. But there are people there that actually committed criminal acts, hurting, even killing. I mean, people were killed in that thing, right? And property was destroyed, and a whole bunch of other stuff happened, right? But no, everybody was pardoned. And there was no outcry, really, not really, right? Because, first of all, people no longer are as informed as they used to be. That's one. And they don't understand Simple things, how tariffs work. They don't understand that Donald Trump is not actually working in their best interest at all. That he doesn't give a hoot about people. In fact, you could see it with his reaction to the Epstein file release. Are you still talking about that? This guy's been dead for years. Why are you still talking about it? Don't talk about it. He's trying to shift the story, but he can't, right? But you can see here he doesn't care about the things that his base cares about, right? That's really where the big disconnect is, and I think what a lot of the people experiencing now is cognitive dissonance, where their fundamental belief system is being challenged. Mm-hmm. They've been led to believe for the last 10, 12 years that Donald Trump is the Messiah in many ways, right? And I'm not overstating the case here. And all of a sudden, you're learning that your Messiah used to hang out with the biggest pedophile in modern history, right? And may have even known that he was doing it. I mean, he knew that he liked young girls. That's what he said, Donald Trump, right? Yeah, he likes young women, the young side, Well, how young is that? How young is young, right? I mean, how much
Jimmy
did he know?
Savile young, or because he's got to be a meter or at least somewhere on the gauge. I was watching some shots from 70s TV shows, and this was like the bad side of that. Then we didn't know. Then we had no idea. My mum knew, though. I'll tell you. My mum knew, never leave a child alone with a TV personality. She said that. I didn't know what you meant. I thought she was just saying, well, they're kind of irresponsible and just walk away. My imagination was in a completely different place. I didn't know it was going to be, your uncle at summer holiday in the boat shed. I didn't think that was going to be the case, right? But but that's not how it is. So the social media, my stance on it is, at no time in history do we have, like you said, a customizable, tailored or curated for an individual amount of information streaming to them for no one else, because social engineering can steer and nudge you. The 3-letter agencies, or in Australia 4-letter agencies, same kind of agencies, just different, an extra letter, can intentionally, or algorithms can intentionally push you in a certain direction. We've already had people in those agencies that secretly filmed suggesting that they already do it, that they've been doing it to us for years. When you had 4 big newspapers in Australia, there was a different person and with a different view on life reading each one of those brands on the train in the morning. Mackie, for instance. So the Australian, the big one, the financial one, and then you got the Sun Herald,
sure,
right? Each one of those had a different slant on the news. Now we have different slants on our dinosaur, news media. This is the one that we can't get away from. We can't get away from these that are in our pockets. Now, social media was initially designed to kind of bring people together. But what's happened is it's actually isolated people more. And then they tried the algorithms, and all that did was upset people. I mean, at their core, it gave people depression because, what do I do now? I go to a restaurant by myself. I take a photo and make it look like I'm happy. If I don't get any likes, I'm upset. I'll take a photo of my dinner because it was really nice. But instead of just admiring it later in a personal way, putting it in a photo album, I'll post it online and hope I get people go, that looks nice. No one does. Might get a couple of likes. So what am I doing it for? I've seen people go to a party and take selfies at the party with no one else. I'm just at the party. Or you go to a concert and they're filming it for some reason. Why don't you just look at it? Are you going to watch that footage again? No, because the audio is terrible. So there isn't a thing about us right now, about the way we act, about our technology that's meant to support ourselves, and make our lives better, I don't think there's anything about it that I'm seeing that does any of those things at all. In fact, there was a psychologist ad that said you really should just turn off the news. If you're not feeling very happy about life, just disconnect yourself for a little while. And then it all starts to come back again. Your feelings about yourself, the world and everything. And it's the fear and the despair. And our world geopolitics now, I don't even know what to say about how crazy it is. That's making the news. And what isn't making the news, the mainstream media news, is the earthquakes and volcanoes that have been set off by this recent 8.8. Where's that news? There isn't.
That's a good point.
No one does that. So not even a happy story in the news. And I've got a story up here that I wasn't going to talk about, but I'll just give it 1 minute. Poland's new president brings hard line on refugees, abortion, and the rule of law, which sounds like he's going to get it all a bit fascist on us. But he's saying no to illegal immigration and no to the euro. He wants out. He doesn't want any of this. He wants to pull it back to just being Poland again. I think he's been having lunch with the Hungarians for a while. Maybe too often. I'm not being too critical. It's kind of a joke. But this is the thing. There was a media story where this person was driving down the street saying, well, we don't have any gangs. There isn't the violence that was advertised to get him into power. Driving around the streets randomly, I watched about 40 minutes of it. There was nothing. People happy. Actually happy, Mickey. Good. What? In this world? No, we can't have that. So I had a discussion with a guy today about how I had a piece of paper and I put something in the middle. I said, there's left politics, there's right politics. Where's fascism? And he kind of pointed to make a circle outside of that. And I said, which side will go fascist first? And I said, he didn't know. And I said, well, the left, who was meant to be all about the people, during COVID, kind of went fascist straight away. Not repeating myself too often. And on the right, they didn't vote against it. So they're both as bad as each other. Good luck wherever you are. Now, back to you in the studio.
We can't. No, but look, that's the point you're making is absolutely correct. We need to do away with this tribalism, right? We need to look at what's good for society, really, right? And just because you're doing something for one part of society doesn't mean you can't do something at the same time for another part of society. Mm-hmm. This is not a zero-sum game. So what I mean by that is, people deserve healthcare and education and transportation and housing and a decent standard of living, right? Everybody does. This is part of the social contract we have as a society. Okay, and socialism. See, Americans say socialism, but what they mean is communism.
That's right.
And what they mean is specifically Stalinist or Maoist communism, which is not at all what Marx and Engels had in mind at all. Mm-hmm. That's not what communism was not meant for Russia or for China. Communism was meant for an industrial nation like Germany or Great Britain, but that's neither here nor there. But my point is, we all have a social contract society, and funnily enough, some of them are, we won't kill our neighbors, we won't steal from our, neighbors, etc. These are all social contracts that most of us adhere to, and that's how society works. But by the same token, we look after our elderly, right? We look after our disabled, our less fortunate, things like that, because people will fall on hard times. It will always happen, right? And trickle-down economics doesn't work, just to be clear. And there's not a single billionaire I can think of, it never has been in the past, like the super rich, that didn't get there on the backs of others. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can't justify someone's salary being like 3,000 times higher than a regular worker in that country. Mm-hmm. You can't. Because that person doesn't bring 3,000 times the value. Or even 100 times the value.
No, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
So, And this is really the problem that we have. There's nothing wrong at all with socialism, and socialism is a very simple term. All it means is there's a social contract we all have, right, which provides universal healthcare and provides education and so forth, and you don't have to pay ridiculous amounts of money for. I mean, if you get sick in America, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's you can't afford it. It's insane, right? Even well-to-do people are terrified of getting sick. This should be just a given. After World War II, the NHS was established in the UK because the UK said, well, you know what? I think we look after each other's health. And in Germany, same thing. In most of Europe, right?
I think we're at
Is
the
that
end.
music?
Yeah, we should have the music, but we can't hear it.
Look, we'll speak more about this on Sunday in Shiny Side Out, and we'll talk about the hypothesis that's going to come up. In the meantime, though, this has been Platos Cave. Thank you so much for dialing in. I'm sorry I was late, but my Discord decides always to update when I started up to come to the show. 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Something awesome is going to come up. And donate if you can. Subscribe, like, etc. All of these wonderful things. But most of all, Dave,
be safe, everyone.